Hey guys, what is going on? Lego Man 123 are back with another video, and welcome back to another tier listing making video, where today in this episode, I'll be ranking my favorite The Legend of Korra characters. But before I get into it, I just want to quickly say that I'll be actually splitting this video into two parts, and the reason being is because there is a lot of characters to actually get through, and instead of having like a really long video, I thought I would split it into two parts because I feel like if it was a really long video, I feel like not a lot of people would actually watch it, and it would be definitely really boring to actually watch, and you may lose interest in like watching an hour long video. And I feel like if I was to split it into two parts, I feel like a lot more people would actually watch it, and it would be more enjoyable if it was like say 22 minutes or so. I'm not 100% sure on the exact sort of time on how long it would be. But without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off, we have Aang, and this is him in his sort of adult form, and this is like the sort of counselor and like guidance for Korra, because like Roku did the same for Aang, and like Aang is doing the same for Korra. I really wish we got more like scenes with Aang, because I believe like the only ones are like a flashback scene when Aang like is on the councilman, and like he's doing some sort of like council with like Sokka, Toph, and all that, and then the other scene is when he like helps Korra like get her four elemental sort of powers back. So I kind of wish there was more sort of scenes with him, just like Roku actually did with Aang. I really wish like Aang was there for Korra, but then the problem with that was that Korra actually like lost the connections to actually go to her past lives, so she couldn't get like help and all that. So it's definitely really sad to actually know that. So I might possibly put Aang maybe in B. And then we have Omen, a really interesting character because like his whole backstory is definitely really sad. And then like the whole sort of character he is, he wants like equality and all that. He wants people like just normal civilians without like any elemental powers or like sort of powers in general to actually live not in fear but like in peace and all that, because like he wants to have a world without elemental powers, so then people can like be free and all that and not have to be like ruled by people who do have powers. So definitely a really interesting message there. But then like the whole backstory he does have is definitely really sad, so I might possibly put him in A. Then we have Asami, definitely a really interesting character as well, because like she's a girl member on Team Avatar, because I thought it was definitely really interesting, and we got like a girl member on Team Avatar because Korra is like a girl as well. So it's definitely really nice how they actually did balance that out with two guys, Bolin and Marco, and then Korra and Asami. And then I really like how she actually does like have some really nice relationships with as friends with like Marco, Bolin, and Korra. Definitely really nice. But then she does have a sad past with her father actually being like a bad guy and actually working for Amon. And then she does have some really cool scenes as well. So I might possibly maybe put her in first position in B. Next we have a character who we actually saw in, I believe, episode 11, The Beginnings Part 1 in Season 2, and also a bit of episode 12, Beginnings Part 2. So definitely a really interesting character because he's like a spirit lemur. I believe he's like a guardian of some sort of like spiritual sort of place where the spirits actually come to like sort of chill out and all that type of stuff. I really like how they actually have this sort of creature actually guarding it. And then one who's actually the first avatar and like the whole story we learn about him, he actually does meet this lemur. I'm not 100% sure on the name. At first their sort of relationship starts off pretty rocky because like this lemur is like sort of rejecting one from actually going into the sort of spiritual sort of water fountain place, but then like he actually does get accepted into like the spiritual water place. Like he begins to have some really good friends with sort of spirit animals, including like the lemur, and then the relationship grows really nice to actually become really good friends. So I really did like how they started off really rocky, but then like grew to be really good friends. But then it was really sad that they actually had to say goodbye to one another, because one actually did shut the two spiritual entrances in the northern and southern water tribe. So it was definitely sad to actually see that. so I might possibly maybe put him in third position in B. Next we have Batar Jr. Now definitely a really interesting character because like he does start off actually a bad guy, like he does work for Kavira, who is actually his like girlfriend in a way, and like I feel like he's controlled by like power and ambition, and also a bit of like sort of family issues because his family, in my opinion, sort of like rejects him in a way, and they actually do that once he actually does beginning work with Kavira, and like what they do to like the Earth sort of nations and all that. Like they want to create, Batar Jr. and Kavira want to create like a whole sort of Earth nation to themselves, and they be the rulers, and Sue, her children, and like Korra don't really believe in this type of thing. So really interesting character, and he is controlled by like power and ambition, and also like sort of persuasiveness from Kavira. So I might possibly put him maybe in fourth position in B. Next we have Bolin. Now a really cool character as well. I really like how he's like the sort of funny guy on the team because like he does remind me of Sokka a lot because Sokka was like the one who like did the jokes and all that. Like he would sometimes turn like really serious situations into like a joke or something like that. So I really like how they did have like Bolin. In season 2, it is definitely a little weird with him being like Noah talk, like some sort of actor in a movie to actually help the sort of a civil war. What does happen in a couple of episodes during season 2, so that was a little strange. But then I thought it was really interesting how Bolin actually joined Kavira and Batar Jr.'s sort of mission to like unite all the Earth Kingdoms because he's wanted for so long just help people in a way, like doing good things, good deeds, and this was like the one sort of a thing he actually wanted to do, like help people. But then once he learns the truth about it, that Kavira and Batar Jr. are actually doing this for like their own sort of idea and all that type of stuff, I really liked how he sort of ditched that, how he wanted to actually help people and actually rejoin Team Avatar. So I really did like that. And then in season 1, I thought it was definitely really interesting and all that type of stuff as a character. So I might possibly maybe put him in third position in B. Next we have Boomi, and this is, I was about to say Tenzin, but Aang and Katara's, I believe, oldest child. And he wasn't actually born with the sort of gift of water or airbending, so it's definitely really interesting to see one of Aang's and Katara's children born without any sort of a special talent, but he does have some really cool sort of characteristics. Like he's definitely a really fun uncle to Tenzin's children and all that. So I thought it was definitely really cool. And he is, I believe, like a general for like the sort of war and all that. So that it was definitely really cool to actually know about that. And he is definitely a really cool character. And I also really like how Aang and Katara named Boomi after Aang's good friend King Boomi of Omashu. So I might possibly maybe put him in fourth position because he can fifth position because he can sometimes be annoying in like sometimes like whiny in a way, but apart from that I think he's a really cool character. Next we have one of the twins who are the children of Unalaq. I believe the first one is the male. I'm not 100% sure. I believe his name is like Desna. I'm not 100% sure. But like these two are definitely really strange because they really don't talk as much and they are very sort of mysterious and sort of creepy in a way. But I might possibly put the first one maybe in C, and then maybe the girl out of the twins maybe in first position in C because I feel like she's a little more better than her brother because like she has a sort of very short relationship with Bolin, and she does get pretty scary after Bolin actually does dump her. Next we have an actress who was helping Bolin like filming this sort of TV show in a way to actually help, I believe it was like the Northern Water Tribe in the sort of civil war between Northern and Southern. So definitely really interesting with like the whole sort of movie idea. I'm not 100% sure on her name, but I feel like she uses like the fame and all that like popularity as to like rub it into other people's faces, because at first she really doesn't like talking to like Bolin and all that. She sort of rejects him away, but then as like the sort of TV show gets more and more sort of popular and famous, she actually does begin to appreciate Bolin a little bit more. So that's a little sort of strange how she actually does do that. So I might possibly maybe put her in last position in C. Next we have Hiroshi Sato. Definitely a really cool character, because in the first season he actually does start off as a bad guy, actually supplying like weapons and all that type of stuff for Amon and the Equalist. But then after Asami does learn the truth, I feel like he sort of is a bit upset of like his decision in a way, because the only reason he actually did it was because he did agree with Amon to actually sort of stop the benders and all that, because firebenders actually did take away Asami's mother, so it was definitely sad to actually learn the truth about that. But then I really liked how he actually did have some sort of redemption arc. It wasn't as good as Zuko's, but it was still a redemption arc. So I really liked how he actually did have that, because he was actually in sort of prison. I believe it was like a really high sort of maximum prison. And I liked how Asami went to actually visit him from time to time, and like they started building that relationship back up again as daughter and father. So I really did like that. So I might possibly put him maybe in first position in C, because then he does like redeem himself and actually help Team Avatar actually not destroy, but like cut a hole into like the giant mecha in the sort of final episode for season 4. Next we have one of many Sue's children. Now this one is definitely an interesting one, because like he's quite a sort of different child to her other ones, because I believe he sort of uses his sort of metal bending to like create sculptures and all that. He's sort of the more arty one compared to the others. So I thought it was definitely interesting how Sue had a child like this, and like he does do like a lot of sculptures and art, and he's more of like the quiet child out of her other children. So I might possibly maybe put him maybe in maybe fourth position in C. Next we have another character from an episode in season 2, which I believe is called The Beginnings, which is I believe part 1 or maybe part 2. Now I believe this character was like a general who was actually sending out, I believe, a bunch of soldiers into like the wilderness to like, I believe, kill like spirits and all that. So definitely really sad how he actually wanted to do this, and like he was a pretty big general, so I thought that was definitely an interesting decision to actually do that to spirits. And he was a firebender, so I might possibly put him in, because he did get it from like the sort of spirit line or like lion turtle. I might possibly maybe put him maybe in last position in C. Next we have the second oldest child of Tenzin and Pema, and this is Iki. Really interesting character, because I feel like she's related. Well, she is related, but I feel like she represents Aang a lot more, because like she could get us out of sticky situations, like because Aang in an episode actually got out of like a sort of part where he was actually trapped in like the part where you have your arms and head through. I'm not 100% sure on the name. Like Aang easily got out of that, and then Iki easily got out of rope. So I really like that connection they do share. And I also think she's definitely a really interesting character, because like she's like the middle child in the first couple of seasons, I believe, up to season 3 she might be the middle child, but I'm not 100% sure. And I really liked actually seeing her on screen and in the different episodes, so I might possibly maybe put her maybe in second last position in B. Next we have Generaliro, and this is not the Iroh we know and love from Avatar The Last Airbender. This is actually Zuko's daughter's son. Really interesting how she actually did name her son Iroh after, I believe it's a great uncle, I'm not 100% sure, or it might be just uncle. So really cool how she actually did do that. And I really liked how Danto Basco, I believe that's his name, who actually did voice Zuko in Avatar The Last Airbender, actually voiced Iroh in The Legend of Korra. Really nice connection there, and he is a very skilled firebender because he did learn from his mum, which is Zuko's daughter. So really nice connections there, and I also really like how he is really kind to Korra as well. Like in Avatar The Last Airbender, a lot of firebenders are like really rude and all that, like they're very judgmental, and then after like the 100-Year War, I feel like firebenders regained their respect, and definitely Iroh was definitely really cool to watch because he definitely was a very skilled firebender and definitely had a lot of sort of potential in him and was a very sort of ranked person because he was, I believe, general. So I might possibly maybe put him maybe in second position in B. Next we have Iroh's mother, which is actually Zuko's only child, I believe. She is the Fire Lord, which is definitely really interesting because it would have been cool to actually see Zuko actually hand down like the role to his daughter, but she is definitely not in it as much as Iroh. It would have been cool to actually see her a lot more than Iroh because I believe she's only in it for like one part, which is like this sort of speech part in an episode in season 4. I really wish we just got more of her. It would have been definitely really cool. But she is definitely a really sort of kind person, and she definitely knows what she is talking about. It would have been really cool to actually see her in action. But I might possibly maybe put her in maybe third, maybe fourth last position in C. Next we have once again another character from, I believe, the beginnings, and this was from both part 1 and 2, and this is actually, I believe, Wan's brother or like his close friend, so it's definitely really cool to see the relationship they did share. And Wan's friend or brother is definitely really passionate and ambitious to actually be a part of like Wan's sort of legacy and all that. He wants to actually help Wan, but after Wan goes like away for a very long time, like his friend or brother actually sort of changes in a way. He becomes very passionate and very ambitious to actually destroy like the spirits and all that. So it's definitely sad to actually see that actually happen. And then to Wan's surprise, like his friend was definitely not bad, but like he sort of had turned because of the new power he had gained from the Lion Turtle, which was fire. He did use it for like destruction and all that type of stuff. So it was sad to actually see that close relationship they did have as friends or brothers like sort of disappear in a way. So I might possibly maybe put him in third last position in C. Next we have Tenzin and Pema's oldest child, which is Genora. I really do like this character. I really like how she's like the most spiritual connected child of Tenzin and Pema. Like she got to the spirit world like no problem, and her knowledge on the spirit world was definitely really cool. She can like have a sort of part where she can actually exit her body as like some sort of ghost and actually like sort of go to different places. So that was definitely really cool to actually see that. And I also really like this character because she definitely has a lot of knowledge on like airbending, like the spirits and all that. So I really did like that. And then in season 3, she actually did become like a leader and all that type of stuff, like teaching the new airbenders and like being a leader when a leader was needed. And then in season 4, she was definitely really cool as well. And she was the first child of Tenzin and Pema to actually receive her tattoos, which was definitely really cool to actually see that. Well, pretty awesome to actually see that. So I might possibly maybe put her in first position in A. Next we have Kai, and he is a really cool character. He also does have a redemption arc, but not as good as Zuko's, but I reckon it's probably better than Asami's dad, because like he did start off like sort of pickpocketing and like making up lies to get what he did want, and that actually did happen the first time we actually did see him. He was like sort of orphan, and like he did run away from the family who definitely loved him like lots, so he did run away and make up lies and steal stuff. And then like halfway through season 3, yeah, season 3, like, he does run away from Bolin and Marco, so that was definitely interesting to see. But then in, like, the end of season 3, with, like, say, maybe 4 final episodes left, and then in season 4, like, he definitely does mature and definitely become a really good friend to, like, pretty much everyone, like Genora, like the Avatar, Team Avatar. So it's really cool. Like, he changed definitely a lot from season 3, and then he has definitely matured a lot in season 4. So I might maybe possibly put him maybe in maybe third position in B. Next we have Katara, and she was definitely really cool to actually see again, because she is an old lady, because I believe it's like been 70 years since the events of Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm really glad we actually got to see her again, because she has become a really good healer, and that does help for like Korra, and like she does pass that on to Korra to actually help Bolin. So definitely really cool how like she passes on her sort of knowledge of ward healing onto others, and also help people with like injuries to heal them. And she is definitely really wise, because she does help Korra actually get through like her recovery and all that. And I really liked how she actually did help Korra like learn waterbending, because like she was like her teacher in a way. So I thought it was definitely really cool. I thought it would have been really awesome to actually see Korra, I mean not Korra, but Katara in a fight again. But I can definitely understand why, because no offense, but she is like really, not really old, but like she is an old lady, so like she may not move as well as she used to. But I thought it would have been really awesome to see her in a fight. But I might possibly maybe put her maybe in second position in B. Next we have Korra, and I'm just gonna put her straight up maybe in second. No, I'm gonna put her in first position in A, because when we first meet Korra, she is definitely a really passionate person to be the Avatar. She was so really enthusiastic, because like it was really cool to see her on screen, because like she can very easily bend all 3 elements, because in season 1 she hadn't controlled air or had been able to do air bending, so she did have to learn that in season 1. And then during season 1 a lot of stuff did happen. She did lose her bending and all that, and that was how she actually did unlock airbending. And then in season 2, with like the whole sort of spirits and all that type of stuff, how she got Rava ripped out of her, definitely really sad. And then in season 3, like her most sort of saddest season, where she like got poisoned by mercury. And then in season 4 with like her whole recovery and like Kavira and all that. So definitely a lot did happen to this Avatar, a lot more than Aang. Aang may have lost like his whole sort of civilization, but I feel like Korra actually did suffer a lot, because she did get a lot sort of thrown at her all at once, because she definitely was a really good Avatar, and I really like how she coped with it in each of the seasons. But then in season 3, I feel like it went like a little too far for her liking, and like she did have to recover. And I'm really glad they actually made the recovery part like sort of go on for like a while, instead of just like recovering like straight away like a week later. They actually had it going for quite a while, so I'm really glad they did that. And just everything what happened to her, I'm really glad she just didn't like stay the same Avatar, like the enthusiastic and like sort of passionate Avatar. She actually did change a bit, so I really did like that, just as much as Aang did change from season 1 to season 3. Next we have Kavira, and she's definitely a really passionate and ambitious sort of villain, because she really wants to like conquer each of the earth sort of different like villages, kingdoms and all that, to actually make it her own. And she does do that alongside her boyfriend Batar Jr. So it's definitely really interesting how she had this really big goal set in mind, and just seeing her conquer it and like sort of overcome it was definitely really cool to see that. So I might possibly maybe put her maybe in first position in B. Next we have Kaeya, and this is the second oldest child of Katara and Aang. I really liked how Katara did have a child which did waterbending, because I feel like if they didn't have a child who could do waterbending, I feel like it would be a little weird and sort of upsetting in a way. But I'm really glad they did name it Kaeya after, I believe, Korra's grandmother. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's correct. She's definitely a really skilled waterbender, because like she could do like whips, like long whips, like sort of grappling hooks in a way to like grab onto people's legs. She can heal people with her sort of water healing. So definitely a lot of skills and knowledge from Katara has definitely gone into Kai, which I'm really glad they actually did do that. So I might maybe possibly put her maybe next to Boomi. No, maybe I might put her maybe next to Aang. I feel like that's a good position. Next we have the Cabbage Man, and we actually do see a statue of him in Republic City, which I think is just really funny to actually see. But he's only in like a split second, and I believe it might be a sort of flashback Korra does have, or like some sort of scene where a flashback is involved, and like he's yelling at cabbages because he's actually being, no, I believe it's not a flashback, it's actually a part where he was being framed for a crime he didn't commit. So that was definitely interesting to see, but I'm really glad they actually did have the Cabbage Man once again in it. But I really wish he was in it like as much as he was in the last Airbender, because I thought it was definitely cool. Like each time if they were somewhere, the Cabbage Man was most likely there, and like they would destroy his cabbages. But like this is a very quick scene in the Legend of Korra. It would have been really cool to actually see him escape using cabbages, and like as he's about to escape, they actually destroy his cabbages. I thought that was a pretty funny idea. So I might maybe possibly maybe put him maybe in maybe third last position in C. Next we have one of like the sort of commanders and like the highest officer in Amon's sort of resistance and like his sort of equalist, because this is like the sort of commander who gives the roles to the equalist, but then like has to get the sort of permission from Amon. So it was really cool like how he had like a sort of second in command, Amon, and then like this sort of person was definitely really interesting, because I liked how just sort of passionate he was alongside Amon to actually complete this goal. And he was definitely really interesting to see, because like he had these two sort of sticks with like sort of tasers on him, like he could easily whack people away, and he was definitely really skilled. And what I really liked was I liked how he did turn against Amon after like Korra and Marco actually exposed him for who he is, because he was a bloodbender, he's a waterbender, and he did lie to like Republic City and the Equalist, including his sort of second in command. And to see him actually turn against Amon was definitely really interesting. So I might maybe possibly put him maybe in last position. Yeah, maybe last position in B. Next we have Lin Bafong, and this is actually the oldest child of, I believe, Toph. And before Toph actually like retired, she was actually a police officer in Republic City. Like she started this whole sort of metal bending police sort of academy. So it's really cool how she actually did turn this sort of skill and sort of new idea of bending into like some sort of police academy. So really cool, and I'm really glad one of her children actually did sort of take on the legacy of being chief of police in Republic City, and that was Lin Bafong. She is definitely a really skilled metal bender and also earth bender, and she can use like the sort of sense Toph did actually use, where like she sort of bangs her foot into the ground and like a whole bunch of stuff does happen where she can like sense movement, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on what it is. It also does have a specific name, like something sense. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I really like Lin. I like how she's like a cranky person as well in like the first couple of seasons. I believe it's like season 1, and then she becomes like really good friends with like Korra, Bolin, Marco, and all that. So I thought it was definitely really cool. And something really interesting was this was actually, I was about to say Zuko, but Tenzin's sort of first girlfriend, I believe, but then they actually did break up, which was definitely really sad. So I might maybe possibly put her maybe in that position there. Next we have Marco, and he's definitely a really interesting character, and he is the older brother of Bolin, so I really do like the relationship they do share as brothers. And then Marco is actually a firebender and also a lightning bender, which is definitely really interesting. It would have been really cool to actually see how he did get like lightning bending, because his mother is a Fire Nation sort of civilian, so I believe she might have like passed down her skills to him, so it would have been really cool to have like flashbacks of them training together. But apart from that, he's definitely a really cool character to watch, because he's got some really good friends like Korra, Asami, Tenzin, and I really like how like their relationship does grow as like good friends like throughout the different seasons. And he's also a really sort of calm character when he wants to be. He's definitely a really skilled sort of person as well, so I might maybe possibly put him maybe next to Bolin. Next we have Milo, I believe his name is. He was definitely a funny character to watch. In the first season, he did seem like innocent and like sort of childish, and I'm really glad they did continue that throughout the seasons, because like he did sort of represent Aang in a way with like his sort of childish feel and all that, so I really did like that. And then I really liked how he did have a really good relationship with his sibling. Sometimes they would like joke around and stuff would get a little out of hand, but at the end of the day, they were really close siblings, and I really did like that. So I might maybe possibly put him maybe next to Ikki, because sometimes he can be like a little bossy and all that, which was definitely like sort of sad and upsetting to see that. And then sometimes he may be like a little sexist, but I believe he may not actually know that he's being sexist. I think he just knows like it's a joke and all that. So that was a little sort of strange to actually see that. So I might maybe move him. No, I might maybe put him next to Ikki. Next we have, I've forgotten her name, like who Halino? No, I don't think it's that. It's this member of the Red Lotus where she doesn't have any arms, but she can make some really cool stuff with it. She could do like tentacle arms. She could do like part of her arm like frozen and like as a hand or something. So she is definitely a really skilled waterbender. It would have been really cool on how she actually did get her sort of arms and like how she permanently made her arms water. It would have been cool to get like a sort of flashback scene of that, because I feel like she's a lot more skilled in a way compared to Kaeya and Katara, but I kind of wish we actually did get to see that. And my only problem with her is that I feel like she shouldn't be like that skillful, because after she does get broken out of prison from, I believe, Zahir and the sort of lava bending guy, she was definitely like straight back in it. Like she could very easily recreate the tentacle arms, like with the sort of arm ice part. I kind of wish that didn't happen like straight away. I really feel like they should have made her struggle in a way. Like she had to learn how to redo her tentacle arms like after a few days, because I feel like after being stuck in like prison for like a really, really long time, I feel like you shouldn't be like straight away back in it with like your elemental power. I feel like I should have taken like a little more longer to get like back into the sort of thing you know. So I might maybe possibly put her maybe next, maybe in between there with the lemur and Boomi. Next we have like this like deer sort of thing. It's actually a good friend of the first Avatar 1, and like this is the sort of a spirit he does rescue, and I really liked how 1 actually did do that, because he actually is seen being like really hungry and all that, and like he does see this spirit actually being not caged up, but like it's roped up in a trap, and like he actually does save it, and they do become really good friends, and I'm really glad he actually did do that instead of just like killing it. I'm really like just how much of a heart 1 actually did have for both sort of humans and spirits. And as the lemur did say, he's actually never seen a human do such a kind act before, and I really liked how like their sort of connection did grow as being really good friends to one another. But I really wish we actually did see the deer, like leopard thing, maybe like yeah, leopard actually in like episodes of The Legend of Korra instead of just like the beginnings ones, because I feel like it could have been a really good friend of Korra and like another animal friend for Korra, because it would have been interesting to see that. But it's really sad to actually think that it may have died after like one actually like died. So it's really sad to think that. But apart from that, I might possibly put it maybe in first position in C. Next we have Naga, I believe her name is, and this is Avatar Korra's good pet friend. I'm really glad I actually did keep this like sort of tradition up with like avatars having really good sort of close animal friends, and Naga is another example of that, because just like Aang's bison, Appa, they can definitely think for themselves as animals. They're not just like hopeless and all that. Like they could definitely do a lot of stuff on their own, because like they may not be able to talk, but they can definitely sort of fend for themselves. They can think for themselves. They're not just like some sort of like useless animal. So I might maybe possibly put maybe like Naga in first position in C. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video as much as I did making it, because as always with these types of videos, I really do enjoy sharing my thoughts and opinions. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the Legend of Korra characters. Now definitely stay tuned for part 2, because it will definitely be just as enjoyable as this one. So as always guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I can see so goodbye.